Hello, initiates, and welcome to the Illumicorp video training course. I would like to officially welcome you as a member of the team. You've joined our organization at perhaps the most exciting point in our long history. Our founders shared a passionate dream to transform this country and eventually the whole world into one cohesive organization. When Illumicorp finishes gaining centralized control over the resources of the planet, and we will, we can then organize, distribute, and govern for the benefit of all. After competition and dissent are eliminated, we will build a utopia for the people of the world to share based on need and rejoice together in a harmonious new world. This presentation is designed to enlighten you about our organization's goals and achievements. As your guide, I will help to answer some basic questions you might have about Illumicorp and familiarize you with the valuable role you will play in helping us reach our prime objective. So please, take a tour with me as we march together towards an exciting new world. All people are aware of class. To them, society is made up of the rich, the middle, and the poor. The one thing that all three classes don't understand is that the pyramid continues upward. There is a detached, hidden capstone made up of an elite board of directors who own and manage Illumicorp. The three classes below, in essence, become the assets and resources of Illumicorp. Illumicorp is divided into various administrative branches, but each branch has the same 5 levels in their hierarchy. You will begin at the bottom, in the initiate category. As such, your role will be to make sure that your orders are carried out through the sub-corporations and institutions controlled by Illumicorp. You will be placed in plain sight, at the head of a company or institution in the public sector, to carry out the plans delivered from above. Remember, your role is very important. You will be the face of Illumicorp to the outside world. You are our connection to the masses below. Never speak publicly about your orders or your masters.
It's a small world. It's a small world. It's a small world. We're living in one small world. It's a small world. It's all one. It's a small world. We're living in one small world. It's a small world.
Now let's look at Illumicorp's 6 administrative branches and their functions. You will be placed in a top position of power among one of the following sectors. In this way, as you are monitored and guided from above, you will decide strategy and introduce programs that further our goals. But that is the secret to Illumicorp's success. Control the head, and you control the body. This is potentially Illumicorp's most effective instrument for global control. Through international banking, we manipulate the fate of all countries. We have introduced many institutions, such as the IMF and WTO, that work in our favor to impoverish disobedient nations. Always remember, debt is a powerful weapon against countries that don't share Illumicorp's vision. Perhaps our greatest achievement in banking is the Federal Reserve System. It is a collection of international banks owned by Illumicorp members and financiers. It was created to form a centralized banking system through the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, an act that was indeed penned by some of our most esteemed members. Many of you might still assume that the government itself prints and issues the currency. That is not the case. When America needs money, they go to our boys and ask for it. The money is printed, but it is only representative of a loan. Interest accrues on that dollar until it is paid back to the Fed. In fact, the federal taxes paid by the American population go almost entirely to paying off this debt. So you see, Illumicorp derives a healthy amount of its operation funding directly from the debt of the public. Needless to say, this is one of our most crucial sources of funding and one of our proudest achievements here at Illumicorp. Through mergers and acquisitions, we have slowly and silently bought up the majority of U.S. industry. Illumicorp and its members own most of the oil, transport, banking, media, food and communications industries in America and abroad. Through fewer and fewer conglomerates, we are able to effect with great precision the machinations of labor and government.
Martine, I'll be on the press, please.
Okay, would you like paper or plastic?
Your own bag, yeah, but you forgot it though. You were busy dreaming of ice cream and all that cookie dough. Your life is wrapped in plastic, convenience is your motto, but plastic addiction's worse than they want you to know. BP's oil spill, almost like we did it. We use 1 million grocery bags every single minute. Recycling terms a joke, yo, that baggie don't go anywhere. Turns to little pieces and it spreads over everywhere. Into your food supply, into your blood supply. Not to mention birds and fish and cuties, you don't wanna die. Look at baby Sammy, dioxins in this Milky Way, cause even her breast milk, it's got PCB and BPA. Okay, now you get it. How you gonna stop it though? Banning single-use plastic bags, it's the way to go. Join other states and cities, kick the nasty habit. Tell your representatives to ban single-use bags. Make
Plastic, fossil product, all your cracks made of. There's one thing we can't do. Brown bags made of plastic. Skip the bag, the cup, and spark too. Convenience will kill you. Brown single-use plastic, toxic bag. Sustainably, we go forth and save our cities. Bringing your own bags and forks and bottles should be easy. But corporations selling toxins on the government. Stand together for yourself because the planet's saying yeah, yeah. That single-use bags made of plastic. Fossil product, all your cracks made of. There's one thing we can't do. Bags made of plastic. Bring your own, don't you forget to. And let your reps know too. Single-use plastic, toxic bags.
Today, everywhere we go, we are surrounded by plastic. We drink from it, eat from it, wear it, and use it in almost every part of our daily lives. This miraculous invention and its evolution have created a new era of cheap, convenient, and disposable products that have transformed the way we live. And it's hard to imagine what we would do without them.
Plastics is too firmly embedded in modern life.
But plastic is unlike any other substance on Earth for one very specific reason. It never goes away. Because plastic is such a perfect creation, it's virtually indestructible. Which means that almost every molecule of plastic ever created is still somewhere on this planet. So if it never deteriorates, where does it go?
Have you heard of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch?
No, I haven't.
No.
The Great Pacific Garbage... what?
Right now we are in a private airport in Honolulu, and we are about to get on board and fly 4 hours on a private charter flight to Midway Atoll right here, which is literally in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, midway point from the west coast of the US and the east coast of Japan.
Only one government plane flies out there every couple of weeks, carrying supplies along with researchers and maintenance workers.
I feel like I'm in a dark sauna.
No cars are allowed here, so transportation is by foot or golf cart. As we drove to our accommodations, I realized right away that getting around this place is harder than it seems.
There are birds everywhere. We're trying to dodge them in the dark.
Located at the top of Papahanaumokuakea Marine Monument, it is home to a vast array of wildlife. More than 2 million albatross nest here for part of the year. That's about 70% of all the Laysan albatross in the world.
There's no one in sight except for me and you and the albatross and a whole lot of plastic.
In this small, remote place with very few people, tens of thousands of pounds of garbage wash up on our beaches every year.
Clean it up, so this will be just the accumulation in 4 months' time.
What is this? It's like a melted piece of plastic. It looks like plastic spaghetti. What the heck is a computer monitor doing floating in the ocean in the middle of the Pacific? Check it out. It's got Korean writing on it. And mixed into all of this stuff is bird feathers and bird bones.
We've seen debris that comes from North America, from Asia, from lighters to bottle caps to propane tanks to truck tires.
I can't do it.
That garbage is coming from the big population centers of the world, and it is definitely collecting here in the middle of the Pacific.
The biggest landfill in the world, it turns out, is our ocean. We just are starting to realize that.
These ecosystems are very connected. If the oceans are in trouble, we humans are in trouble. We don't realize how much we're threatening our own existence.
If there's some way to bring this issue to someone sitting watching their TV, somehow we just have to make these issues personal.
My name is Angela Sun, and this is my journey to find out what the stuff we throw away is doing to our oceans and what it's doing to us.
Ultimately, corporations will replace government as a centralized international body that can meet the needs of the public worldwide without the chaos created by national self-interest. When Illumicorp goes public, corporatism will be the foundation for world government. Conglomerates will merge into one cohesive corporation that is responsible only to Illumicorp and the needs of its global employment force. Illumicorp's control of the American military is another impressive tool in our possession. We have nurtured these institutions lavishly to serve as the prototype for our global police force. When ready, our technology and manpower will dominate those who oppose the coming new world order. By utilizing American patriotism, we have fostered in the American soldier the philosophy of peace through superior force. When the time is right, we will migrate that mentality towards the belief in a global government who must protect all people through superior force. We have used the American military-industrial complex to build the arsenal necessary to instigate the final cleansing outlined in Illumicorp's Great Plan. Our primary target will be Islamic nations who will never submit to our Western-centric domination. They also hold much of the remaining oil reserve of the planet. Illumicorp must own that precious resource, as it is crucial in maintaining our domination over the countries of the world. Through Illumicorp's enormous federal funding of the military, we can develop new forms of warfare and population reduction. The public can't imagine what we were in the process of developing. Soon, even the weather will be a weapon under our control. We will be able to create droughts, floods, hurricanes, and even tsunamis with no fingerprints attached.
Illuminati, you've come to take control. You can take my heartbeat, but you can break my soul.
You've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it, my life has value.
Illuminati, you'll never take control. Your new world order will lead to none at all.
See, there's no money in healthy people, and there's no money in dead people. The money is in the middle. People who are alive, sort of, but with one or more chronic conditions that puts them in need of Celebrex or Nasonex or Valtrex or Lunesta.
One of the problems with trying to use less stuff is that sometimes we feel like we really need it. What if you live in a city like, say, Cleveland, and you want a glass of water? Are you going to take your chances and get it from the city tap? Or should you reach for a bottle of water that comes from the pristine rainforest of Fiji? Well, Fiji brand water thought the answer to this question was obvious, so they built a whole ad campaign around it. It turned out to be one of the dumbest moves in advertising history. You see, the city of Cleveland didn't like being the butt of Fiji's jokes, so they did some tests, and guess what? These tests showed a glass of Fiji water is lower quality, it loses taste tests against Cleveland tap, and costs thousands of times more. This story is typical of what happens when you test bottled water against tap water. Is it cleaner? Sometimes, sometimes not. In many ways, bottled water is less regulated than tap. Is it tastier? In taste tests across the country, people consistently choose tap over bottled water. These bottled water companies say they're just meeting consumer demand. But who would demand a less sustainable, less tasty, way more expensive product, especially one you can get for almost free in your kitchen? Bottled water costs about 2,000 times more than tap water. Can you imagine paying 2,000 times the price of anything else? How about a $10,000 sandwich? Yet people in the U.S. buy more than 500 million bottles of water every week. That is enough to circle the globe more than 5 times. How did this come to be? Well, it all goes back to how our materials economy works, and one of its key drivers, which is known as manufactured demand. If companies want to keep growing, they have to keep selling more and more stuff. In the 1970s, giant soft drink companies got worried as they saw their growth projections starting to level off. There's only so much soda a person can drink. Plus, it wouldn't be long before people began realizing soda is not that healthy and turned back to, gasp, drinking tap water. Well, the companies found their next big idea in a silly designer product that most people laughed off as a passing yuppie fad. Water is free, people said back then. What will they sell us next? Air? So how do you get people to buy this fringe product? Simple. You manufacture demand. How do you do that? Well, imagine you're in charge of a bottled water company. Since people aren't lining up to trade their hard-earned money for your unnecessary product, you make them feel scared and insecure if they don't have it. And that's exactly what the bottled water industry did. One of their first marketing tactics was to scare people about tap water with ads like Fiji's Cleveland campaign. When we're done, one top water executive said, tap water will be relegated to showers and washing dishes. Next, you hide the reality of your product behind images of pure fantasy. Have you ever noticed how bottled water tries to seduce us with pictures of mountain streams and pristine nature? But guess where 1/3 of all bottled water in the U.S. actually comes from? The tap. Pepsi's Aquafina and Coke's Dasani are 2 of the many brands that are really filtered tap water. But the pristine nature lie goes much deeper. In a recent full-page ad, Nestle said, bottled water is the most environmentally responsible consumer product in the world. What? They are trashing the environment all along the product's life cycle. Exactly how is that environmentally responsible? The problems start here with extraction and production, where oil is used to make water bottles. Each year, making the plastic water bottles used in the U.S. takes enough oil and energy to fuel 1 million cars. All that energy spent to make the bottle, even more to ship it around the planet, and then we drink it in about 2 minutes? That brings us to the big problem at the other end of the life cycle, disposal. What happens to all these bottles when we're done? 80% end up in landfills, where they will sit for thousands of years, or in incinerators, where they are burned, releasing toxic pollution. The rest gets collected for recycling. I was curious about where the plastic bottles that I put in the recycling bins go. I found out that shiploads were being sent to India, so I went there. I will never forget riding over a hill outside Madras, where I came face to face with a mountain of plastic bottles from California. Now, real recycling would turn these bottles back into bottles. But that wasn't what was happening here. Instead, these bottles were slated to be downcycled, which means turning them into lower quality products that would just be chucked later. The parts that couldn't be downcycled were thrown away there, shipped all the way to India just to be dumped in someone else's backyard.
If bottled water companies want to use mountains on their labels, it would be more accurate to show one of these mountains of plastic waste. Scaring us, seducing us, and misleading us. These strategies are all core parts of manufacturing demand. Once they've manufactured all this demand, creating a new multi-billion-dollar market, they defend it by beating out the competition. But in this case, the competition is our basic human right to clean, safe drinking water. Pepsi's vice chairman publicly said, the biggest enemy is tap water. They want us to think it's dirty and bottled water is the best alternative. In many places, public water is polluted, thanks to polluting industries like the plastic bottle industry. And these bottled water guys are all too happy to offer their expensive solutions, which keep us hooked on their products. It is time we took back the tap. That starts with making a personal commitment to not buy or drink bottled water.
Water is very important to all the living things, not only the human, the plant life, the animal life, the rock life. We, the people, we, the living things on this Mother Earth, is part of that water. Someday we're not going to have clean water, so let's appreciate the water. Sing to that water to make that water spirit happy. Save it for all the living things on this Mother Earth of ours. Today, it's really important for us. The water flows over the Mother Earth. It comes out of the ground, clean as can be, fresh.
The political system of America has been under direct control of Illumicorp for some time. It was actually a relatively easy acquisition, and has been even easier to manage. Politicians know of our unspoken agreement, and will do anything to stay in power. A two-party system benefits Illumicorp, in that it reduces all issues into a black and white debate. Through media, we can play side against side, using each where necessary to support our goals. Due to a diminishing faith in the system among the public, Illumicorp has designed a rogue candidate program to provide a voice for the dispossessed. This disperses the impetus for dissent among those who do not feel represented by our candidates and builds a database of potential dissidents. At the turn of the last century, Illumicorp took a serious interest in public education. Our Supreme Council realized that by creating a private organization to dictate curriculum on a federal level, children could be conditioned into obedience on a mass scale. In the interest of promoting Illumicorp principles in the classroom, hundreds of millions of dollars were invested to create the General Education Board in 1902. The result of doing this is evident today. The doctrines of public education have transformed recent generations into a weaker, more docile mass. Through meticulously planned curriculum, we have control over the process by which the average child learns. Thus we can mold them into obedient workers who are conditioned to accept the implementation of the Great Plan. In addition, Illumicorp has set up many associations, including the American Historical Association, that determine and uphold the official view of history. Knowledge is power, so we must at all costs be the authors of the truth. By writing history to suit our interests, dissenting voices cannot gain ground, and we can vastly influence culture to achieve our prime objective.
Illumicorp uses the media to shape the public's opinion about current events and condition desired attitudes about our future agenda. Through news, entertainment, and advertising, we can program a variety of emotions and responses into the collective unconscious.
In the past, we were limited entirely to print media, but now we have multiple mediums to utilize in programming and conditioning the masses. With cable news, we have directed the public to a more entertainment-based consumption of world events, infotainment. This medium is far more effective at subliminal reinforcement of desired attitudes towards our objectives. For instance, we are currently instilling a sense of duty towards environmental issues.
With our growing control of the weather through HAARP and Chem Trails, we will scare the public into accepting our global protection agendas. We will then phase into the great cleansing which must occur to return the global population to a manageable size.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear.
That I will execute the office of President to the United States faithfully.
That I will execute
the office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States faithfully.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
The original Constitution, I think it is an imperfect document, and I think it is a document that reflects some deep flaws in American culture, the colonial culture nascent at that time. I think we can say that the Constitution reflected an enormous blind spot in this culture, and that the framers had that same blind spot. It also reflected the fundamental flaw of this country that continues to.
I have two words for you: predator drones. You will never see it.
In the United States, DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, has purchased up to 750 million rounds of deadly ammo, a purchase which the DHS has not given an explanation for.
Just down the street from our studios, in the U.S. Capitol, your elected officials, both the Senate and the House of Representatives, have just overwhelmingly passed the National Defense Authorization Act. It gives the military the power to indefinitely detain American citizens, even those captured here in the United States.
But Senators McCain and Levin have added this legislation which would authorize the president to declare the entire United States of America, all 50 states and all territories, to be a battlefield, even though there's no battle, thanks be to God, going on here.
War on terror is different.
And that would authorize him to use commander-in-chief authority in the United States to use the military to arrest people in the United States who, in the president's opinion, are enemies Senator of the Lindsey country. Graham, who supports it, has argued that this would authorize the president of the United States to arrest Americans by simply saying they gave up their citizenship
New questions
rights.
tonight about an Army combat brigade being trained to deal with civil disturbances in the United States. The Posse Comitatus Act of 1878 generally prohibits federal uniformed services from carrying out domestic law enforcement duties, except in cases expressly authorized by the Constitution or an act of Congress. Critics say the brigade's training goes against one of the founding principles of our country, separation of military and civilian government.
Story on CBS 2 News. If you see a group of military helicopters flying high and dipping low in the skies above downtown LA later today, do not panic.
St. Louis residents, don't be alarmed if you see Army vehicles rolling through your neighborhood this week.
We begin with a story that you'll only see on 9 tonight. The LAPD and elite military units conducted extraordinary counterterrorism training in the skies above downtown LA tonight, and Sky 9 was there to see it all.
Indeed, Rick, what we saw tonight is something you normally do not see over the skies of Los Angeles. We're going to take you live outside, give you an idea where all this was going on over downtown Los Angeles and in the area surrounding it. Special Military Operation Forces, in conjunction with the LAPD, conducting some military maneuvers that had many people wondering what is going on.
Good evening. It's a military mission in North St. Louis. Heavily armored vehicles are rolling into town, and while they come in peace, there are all kinds of rumors about why they are here. News Channel 5's Casey Nolan is live. somewhere in St. Charles County, where he got an up-close look at the military vehicles. Casey?
Yeah, Mike, in order to get that up-close look, we've agreed not to say exactly where in St. Charles County we are tonight and where these vehicles will be parked overnight. The Army doesn't want that information to be made public for security reasons, but we can tell you why they are here. Now, this may not be such a huge deal that these rigs are in town if not for the speculation that was coming via the internet today. St. Louis police first put out the word that people may see these armored security vehicles in their neighborhood, especially near the Army Reserve Armory in North St. Louis on Goodfellow. But that was about all the information they released. On the KSTK Facebook page in just a few hours, we had more than 100 people weighing in on what was going on, with comments ranging from people saying they would stop and salute if they saw the vehicles to others worried this was the beginning of martial law.
A new generation of surveillance drones could soon be watching us all from overhead. The Federal Aviation Administration is expected to announce plans to expand the use of domestic drones in American airspace.
Agencies love these drones, and they say they'll be able to save lives in things like hostage situations or search and rescue operations. But obviously the privacy concerns are huge, because they will in effect bring every single backyard in America into the authorities' view. You've always had an expectation of privacy in your own backyard. You will no longer have it with,
I don't want
with
regulations, I don't want restrictions, I want a ban on this. Drones are instruments of war. The founders had a great aversion to any instruments of war, the use of the military inside of the United States. They didn't like standing armies. It has all kinds of statutes against using the army in the country. A drone is a high-tech version of an old army and a musket. It ought to be used in Somalia to hunt the bad guys, but not in America. I don't want to see it hovering over anybody's home. Yes, you can say we've got satellites, we've got Google Street, and London has a camera on every street corner, but that's not an excuse to cave in on everything else and accept a society where you're always under being watched by the government. This is not what we want. I would say you ban it under all circumstances, and I would predict, I'm not encouraging, but I'm predicting the first guy who uses a Second Amendment weapon to bring a drone down that's been hovering over his house is going to be a folk hero in this country.
We reinforce the desired norm through advertising, creating a model for people to live up to that is virtually impossible. The result is an incomplete, desperate individual seeking acceptance. Through reality television game shows, we repeat the pattern of individual survival versus group survival. This breaks down the idea of community and breeds individuals who seek only their self-interest. With a public that is constantly suspicious and scheming, we maintain the status quo of a divided population that never thinks to look up.
Religion has served its purpose incredibly well. It is the oldest and perhaps the broadest form of social control utilized by Illumicorp. With religion, there is a written code of conduct that must be followed. The authors of the Holy Scriptures knew quite well how to lace that code with commands to maintain their dominance over the population. This system has survived through millennia to hold the flock together and bring us to today.
Admittedly, religion is losing its power for control. However, the fanaticism that has arisen due to this decline is particularly helpful to Illumicorp. Our invisible influence in the church has helped bring the Christian fundamentalists out of the background. We control their opinions on current issues through policies designed and written right here at Illumicorp headquarters. They are sent to our ministers, who then preach the Word of God and their interpretations of the Bible to their followers. Their blind faith is used to transform them into willing soldiers to defend our cause during the catastrophes ahead. As the final phase is enacted, we will propagate end-time prophecy to convince them of their convictions.
Okay, I'm here today. We're taking a field trip because I wanted to show you some of the things that sulfates are in, which is, oh, there it is, sodium lauryl sulfate, second ingredient. That is a dish detergent. Let's see if you can find another one. Oh, no, won't even tell you what the ingredients are. Nice. Let's see, here's a very cheap one. Let's see. Oh, I take it back. It's the third ingredient on that one. Sodium lauryl sulfate. Okay.
Let's keep moving down the aisle. Nope, won't even tell you on that one. How about this one? I see no ingredients here. So, the ones where they disclose it, it has sodium lauryl sulfate. The ones where it doesn't disclose it, we have no idea what it has. Okay, we are back. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, sodium lauryl sulfate. This is on a body wash. Let's see. Let's grab another one off the shelf. Okay. Oh, let's see. Oh, sodium lauryl sulfate. Another body wash. Okay, so we're cheaply degreasing ourselves. Let's see if this one says, oh, sodium lauryl sulfate. Very nice. And these are very cheap body washes right off the shelf. Let's see. Oh, here's another really cheap one. Sodium lauryl sulfate. Very scary. Okay, now we're in the shampoo hair care aisle. There we go. Sodium lauryl sulfate. Let's grab another one. Oh, not sodium lauryl sulfate. Wow, this is amazing. It's actually got some good, let's see, but it is just off a store shelf. Oh, here we get another one. Sodium lauryl sulfate. Right there. Let's grab another one and see what we can find. Oh, this is a popular one. Everybody loves this one. Let's see what we can do. Oh, sodium lauryl sulfate. Wow, how about that? Let's see if maybe it's just in that one. This is an anti-breakage shampoo. Sodium lauryl sulfate. Oh, you see the dimethicone in there too? That is going to coat your hair and cause it to break, even in the anti-breakage one. Let's see what else we can do. Oh, just because I love this line, not. Oh, wow. It's got the benzyl alcohol that we talked about yesterday. Oh, terrible, terrible. So stay away from that popular line. Let's see what else. Oh, here's one that's all about nourishing. It is, let's see, that's a conditioner. Let's find the shampoo. What does the shampoo have? Sodium lauryl sulfate. Wow, what about that? Man, I must just be picking on people. Oh, everybody loves the smell of this one. Sodium lauryl sulfate. So, essentially what we're learning is that all of these things are the same thing and the same cheap degreaser. Don't use them. Look at the ingredients. One thing you never, ever, ever should do is pop the top, smell the bottle.
Chemtrails. And chemtrails, by the way, barium salts are in chemtrails. They are 10,000 times more toxic to your nervous system than lead. They contain mycobacteria, viruses, Pseudomonas florensis, bacteria, human plasma. Wonder what human plasma is doing in chemtrails. And this is not by conjecture. I did a lot of research before I'd ever say this. But these chemtrails are nasty. And there's 3 reasons for chemtrails. The first is, and I talked to my NSA buddies at Fort Carson, Peterson Air Force Base, and Buckley, where I was actually their doctor taking care of the pilots flying and spraying the chemtrails. So I know it's real. If anybody says it's not real, they're full of it. Okay, because I'm a whistleblower. On the inside, it's not open for discussion. And my NSA buddies told me, 95% of them told me, they were up there trying to spray to reflect the sun out to stop global warming. So most of them are dumb enough to believe that garbage.
And the plane wasn't no airline or anything. It was a twin-engine, big gray plane.
We watched the first explosion. As we're watching the building, we saw a black, very large airplane fly right into the second building. It came out of the south, right in front of our eyes. It was so surreal, like a movie set.
Were you close enough to be able to see any markings on the airplane?
It definitely did not look like a commercial plane. I didn't see any windows on the sides.
I think a bomb went off in the lobby first, then a plane hit the building, but then another plane hit the other building. But when I was coming through the doors on the other side of the Trade Center, either they blew the lobby up or something, because it blew the glass out of the doors and knocked us all down.
You're in the building trying to help people, and it's exploding on the inside the building, so I don't think we'll get any worse than this.
It wasn't from the jet fuel. No way.
People don't understand. There may be more. Any one of these fucking buildings can blow up. This ain't done yet. See the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents.
My name's Tom Sullivan. I worked for Controlled Demolition Incorporated, CDI, the top-rated explosive demolition firm in the world, owned by the Loiseau family during the years surrounding 9/11. And I worked for them as an explosives loader for 2.5 years. As an explosives loader, my job was to place explosives in the buildings to prepare them for demolition. There are many steps that you need to take. First off is you have to weaken the building. To weaken the building, that means the staircase, all the staircases have to be cut at intervals. The firewalls have to be removed. The elevator shafts have to be cut.
I looked down to my right, and the elevators exploded, something out of like a Bruce Willis Die Hard movie. People just come running out of the elevators on fire, fireball. I mean, it was like, what is going on here? Something's up here. I mean, the plane's up there, now there's fire down here.
Then you have to move to the support columns on the particular load floors, and those are cut by a torch for two reasons. First, to weaken them, and also to allow for charges to be placed onto the structure, onto the columns themselves. And that essentially reduces their strength by about 20%. And even with all of that work being done to weaken this building, it still remains safely standing, so we can continue to work in it. The story that just a few columns can cause a synchronized global collapse, an implosion, is, well, that's just nonsense. I don't see how this could actually happen in real life. When we load a building, we have to have all the support columns on a given load floor fail at the same time, within milliseconds of one another, and therefore the entire building comes down in a synchronized implosion. So I think this notion of a one column failure causing an entire building to implode in a synchronized fashion is just nonsense. Looking at the building, it wouldn't be a problem once you gained access to the elevator shafts.
How about an elevator modernization, which we know was going on the 9 months prior to 9/11? Yes, Elevator World, March 2001 documents it. In fact, they were in the middle of this modernization. There are people who noted that the elevators were locked in turn and that there were guards placed at these locked elevators during the modernization. Of course, you would have to have access to security. Securicom was brought in. Who sits on the board of Securicom? Marvin Bush, the younger brother of George Bush.
Then a team of loading experts would have access to all the core columns and beams. The rest could be accomplished at that point by just the right kind of explosives for the job at hand. The choices are many out there. You wouldn't need miles and miles of det cord. You could have used wireless remote detonators, and they have been available for years. You need to only look at an action movie to see them in use, and of course the military has them as well.
You want to call your mother or something?
Contractors don't use them, on the other hand, because they're just too expensive. Well, you wouldn't have found steel casings to be left in the rubble. They haven't been used for years. What we use now is RDX copper-jacketed shape charges, and when they're initiated, there's nothing left of those charges. And in the case of thermite, well, thermite self-consuming cutting charges have been around since they first patented in 1984. So there would be nothing left in the debris pile except some residue of molten iron.
Get down below and you'd see molten steel running down the channel rails, like you're in a foundry.
These incredibly hot areas were found at the bottoms of the elevator shafts, down 7 basement levels. The molten steel was found 3, 4, and 5 weeks later when the rubble was being removed. He said that molten steel was also found at World Trade Center 7. The highest temperature was in the east corner of the South Tower, where a temperature of 1,377 degrees Fahrenheit was recorded. The molten steel in the basement was more than double that temperature.
With any implosion, you don't hear one massive boom sound. What you do hear is smaller explosions going off. Mr. Sunder of NIST has said that you would, if this had been a controlled demolition, you would have heard a large, massive bomb going off.
The World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents.
What in reality happens with a controlled demolition is you hear a successive, progressive, smaller waves of smaller explosions going off. In the case of thermite cutting charges, you would have heard far less noise, since they are worked by thermal heating, melting of the steel, rather than an explosive cutting as in RDX charges. I knew from day one that this was a controlled event, and why I did that is because simply looking at Building 7, you have a sudden collapse of the building. It's fairly symmetrical as it comes down. There's the classic kink, which means that the center core fails first, and you can see that on the video, and the building falls near free fall. So I really honestly didn't believe this from day one, because this is the way buildings classically come down with a controlled demolition.
The rise of Islamic fundamentalism works to Illumicorp's advantage as a threat that will demand violent action. In the coming years, planned terrorist attacks will warrant a full-scale retaliation and initiate the final phase of the Great Plan. Christians will support our actions since they will believe them to be proof of the end times prophesied by Illumicorp's religious leaders. Now that you have a basic understanding of how we work over here at Illumicorp, I would like to introduce you to one of our latest projects, the control grid. Since ancient times, it has been the desire of the Illumins to wield control of the masses below, both to protect us from them and them from themselves. The tools through the ages have been effective, but always blunt and inaccurate. But now, with the release of new technology to the masses, we have the real ability to implement a control grid with finance, industry, government, and military under our strict control. We can safely shift the population into a new world, monitored and controlled by Illumicorp.
Technology such as the internet, GPS, and RFID chips are pillars of the invisible prison we are erecting around the people. Within the decade, we will have real ID cards that contain criminal records and pertinent information, all linked to federal databases. Cell phones will tell us where each individual is, linked to the same database. Through intelligence agencies and Homeland Security, we will monitor individuals who oppose the Great Plan and remove them from the grid. Quickly, the population will learn that they have a choice: support the system and benefit from its luxuries, or reject it and lose access to the grid.
Well, that was quite an overview. I hope it gave you an understanding of our process and basic overall structure here at Illumicorp. The dawn of a new era is on the horizon, and it will shine gloriously over the new world that we have built together.
All day, get off the couch. You know what? Why don't you get up and go to the store and bring back some food?
Once they have established the law that seed can be owned as their property, royalties can be collected, we will depend on them for every seed we grow, every crop we grow. If they control seed, they control food, they know it. It's strategic. It's more powerful than bombs. It's more powerful than guns. This is the best way to control the populations.
That's what the streets them say. That's what my least them say. That's what the Babylon say. We call upon the lips and get popped the same way now. That's what the Pentagon say. That's what the general say. That's what the empire say. But definitely until you get dropped the same way.
There's a war going on inside. No man is safe from DDTs, PCBs. Every corner in the hood got a KFC. A McD's, crack speed like RED. Bullish, the pulpit, so caffeine. Kit Kat like a click clack, hoes in their jeans. Everything got the market, ain't all what it seems. Little Debbie busting biscuits and sugar high fiends. Yeah, ain't nothing but a G thing. GMO, MSG, genocide, street gangs. Aspartame, street cane. Monsanto was Rambo, round up with ammo. Who would've known you could die from a diabetes and the itis from the dairy and the dose of the high fructose. If your ribs too close, so you might start a ride, might be a food fighter. That's what the streets them say. That's what the least them say. That's what the Babylon say. We call up on the lips and get fucked the same way now. That's what the Finagana say. That's what the general say. That's what the empire say. But death down your throat, you get dropped the same way. They shoot you. Made you look at the labels on the food that you cook. Just say no to the cocoa box, cause when you Google the ingredients you might get got. Is your milk on drugs? Cause your brain on Fox Factory farm and spawn in the Matrix plot. Globally warm and the saw enough cows and knots. Driving and climbing, driving a Hummer or not. Drive in like a drive-by. The cold life serves supersize with a side of super lies. So tell me what's more gangster than that? Bullets and burgers to both blades, burners to black. Breakfast is a little like Texas. Petrol's everything that you eating on. My pet store is backyard like Cheech and Chong. A school lunch, pack a punch, food fighters on. That's what the streets them say. That's what my least them say. That's what the Babylon say. We call up on the lips and get popped the same way now. That's what the Finagana say. That's what the general say. That's what the empire say. But death down your throat, you get dropped the same way.
What's beef? Beef is when you 12 years old and obese. Clogged arteries, can't see your own feet until you up in ICU. Guaranteed to be in ICU. From that processed food, suicide is a suicide. Don't want no microwaves, no pesticides. Fast food, slow death in the skies. It's the wild, wild westernized world of deception and lies. What's beef? Beef is when you starve in a famine. Nothing won't grow when the land stays barren. Pollution in the river, mercury in the salmon. What sense do it make to be at war with the planet? We at war for the mind so impressionable. Instead of vegetables, we reach for Red Bulls. Poor diets kill more brothers than pistols. We fighting for our lives like Michael Vick's pit bulls. Dog eat dog, America eats the young. We dying from beef, but more from the meat than the gun. Bullets for breakfast and mass murder meals. Enemy of the state, and your plate is the battlefield in this food fight. Food fight. Food fight. Food fight.
That's what the streets them say. That's what my least them say. That's what the Babylon say. We call up on the lips and get popped the same way now. That's what the Finagana say. That's what the general say. That's what the empire say. But death down your throat, you get dropped the same way. That's what the streets them say. That's what my least them say. That's what the Babylon say. We call up on the lips and get popped the same way now. That's what the Finagana say. That's what the general say. That's what the empire say. But death down your throat, you get dropped the same way. Food fight. Food fight.
Congressman Ray Hall acknowledges there are a lot of secrets and codes.
So are you trying to rule the world?
Well, let's say no. But if we were, would I tell you? No.
Freemasons, and as Elaine Quijano tells us this morning, it is a secret society that is still very well represented in Washington.
John and Kieran, for all the conspiracy theories about Freemasons, this much is true. They can still be found at the highest levels of American government.
From the Capitol to the White House, Freemasons throughout history have freely roamed the halls of power in Washington. 9 of the men who signed the Declaration of Independence were Freemasons, as were more than a dozen U.S. presidents, including George Washington, who famously laid the cornerstone of the Capitol building clad in his ceremonial Masonic apron. These days, Masons can still be found in powerful government positions, but getting someone to chat about it can sometimes be tricky.
I'm doing healthcare.
Senator Mike Enzi didn't break stride while explaining why he's part of the secretive society.
It's a brotherhood built on constructing good men.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
Small World Radio, 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 Small World Radio.